You look at the housing on the Canadian side of Niagara Falls versus the American side. Very interesting. On the Canadian side, 3047 St. Patrick Avenue, you can get a tiny shack for $549,900. On the American side, you get a much bigger standalone home for $164,000.
Wow.
$549 on the Canadian side, $164 on the American side, both Niagara Falls. Why the discrepancy, Housing Minister?
Canadians are routinely confronted with jaw-dropping prices for everyday goods and services that their American counterparts enjoy at a fraction of the cost. From groceries to gasoline, from haircuts to healthcare, Canadians pay a premium, a burden that weighs heavily on their household budgets and overall well-being. But why is this the case? What factors contribute to Canada's exorbitant costs of living? The answers are complex and multifaceted, but one thing is certain: the government plays a significant role in driving up prices, often through a combination of taxes, regulations, and market interventions. In today's video, we will focus on why the prices of just about everything are way higher in Canada compared to the United States. Despite being neighbors, Canadians often find themselves paying considerably more for goods, especially groceries, compared to their counterparts in the USA. The higher costs are attributed not only to the logistical challenges of shipping products across the vast expanse of Canada, but also to the significant concentration within the grocery industry. Canada's grocery market is primarily dominated by three major players: Loblaws, Metro, and Sobeys, with Walmart and Costco also holding substantial market shares. Collectively, these five entities command over 3/4 of the country's total food sales, as reported by Canada's Competition Bureau. In 2023, nearly half of Canadians reported purchasing groceries from Loblaws or its affiliated stores. Critics say that when a few big companies dominate the market, it can lead to unfair practices that hurt consumers by making prices go up. Some examples of alleged wrongdoing include fixing prices for products like bread, limiting competitors' ability to sell certain items, and making coordinated decisions about freezing and unfreezing grocery prices. The problem of too few players in the market has gotten worse over time. In 1986, when Canada introduced the Competition Act, there were at least 8 different grocery chains, each independently owned. However, due to a series of mergers and acquisitions, the competitive landscape has shrunk considerably, leaving only 3 major supermarket corporations, each overseeing various smaller chains. A consistent issue comes from the belief that having less competition is okay because of Canada's unique geography and market conditions. This belief has led to fewer choices for consumers. In contrast, the U.S. has strong competition, with major grocery companies coexisting alongside independent discount chains. This setup gives consumers more choices and helps keep prices from going too high. The question remains, could adopting a similar model benefit Canadian consumers? The housing market in Canada is also in a state of crisis, with prices skyrocketing far beyond those in the United States. As of October 2023, the median home price in Canada was a staggering $631,500 Canadian dollars, while in the United States it was a mere $432,500 US dollars. This represents a difference of approximately 46%, a stark reminder of Canada's affordability crisis. The situation is even more dire in major metropolitan areas like Toronto and Vancouver, where median home prices can surpass 1 million Canadian dollars. These astronomical figures have put home ownership out of reach for many Canadians, particularly young families and first-time buyers. Several factors have contributed to this out-of-control housing market. Stricter land use regulations have severely limited the development of new housing, particularly in areas with high demand. Additionally, Canada's higher taxes and fees associated with home ownership, such as property taxes, capital gains taxes, and foreign buyer taxes, have further exacerbated the problem. On top of that, cell phone bills in Canada are higher than that of the US, and the problem is that foreign competition has effectively been prevented from entering the Canadian market. In industries with this much control, companies usually avoid price wars because, well, they always end up losing. Fast forward to 2023, and guess what? 1 gigabyte of data costs on average $5.37 US. In Canada, that's around $7.50 Canadian, making it the priciest spot in North America for mobile data, as reported by cable.co.uk. Hold on tight, it gets worse. Globally, Canada ranks as the 20th most expensive place for mobile data. Now compare that to Israel, where 1 gigabyte costs a jaw-dropping 2 cents US, approximately 3 cents Canadian. What's the secret behind our sky-high prices? Additional taxes play a part in this expensive game. Is this what liberalism is all about? Airplane tickets don't come cheap in Canada too, and the reason might sound familiar. The same ones behind your high cell phone and grocery bills. We need more competition. Air Canada and WestJet pretty much rule the skies here, and it's a costly affair for airlines to connect communities all over Canada. Surprisingly, flying to Europe or Asia might be cheaper than hopping to the other end of Canada, depending on your departure point. Now, here's another reason why Canadians feel the pinch when booking flights: airport fees. Long story short, it's more expensive for airlines to operate in Canada, and guess who bears the brunt? You got it, the consumers. Canadian major airports, controlled by not-for-profit local airport authorities and owned by the federal government, rely on fees for revenue. These fees cover everything from using the gate and apron to security checks, navigation services, and airport improvements. While foreign airports also charge fees, the ones in Canada are sky high. Take Toronto's Pearson Airport, for example. It charges Air Canada about $1,500 to land a Boeing 737 MAX, $7.49 for every domestic passenger on board, and $2.91 for every minute the plane is at the gate. And it doesn't stop there. In January, the Greater Toronto Airports Authority raised passenger fees at Pearson by $5 to $35 plus tax, along with a 4% increase in aeronautical fees. When you add it all up after factoring in per passenger fees, Canadian airport costs are a whopping 83% higher per seat than in the US, as reported by the Globe. But what about the costs of gasoline, alcohol, and various commodities? Prepare to be astonished by the revelations. The reason behind the high expenses when refueling or purchasing alcoholic beverages has little to do with the market competition. In Canada, the federal government imposes excise taxes on items such as gasoline, diesel, alcohol, tobacco products, cannabis, and vaping products. Unlike sales tax, excise taxes are typically levied indirectly, meaning they're imposed on producers and manufacturers, who then transfer these costs to consumers. Additionally, the Government of Canada imposes specialty taxes, including the federal carbon tax, the expenses of which are returned to Canadians in specific provinces and territories through climate action and incentive payments. The primary objective of these taxes is generally to influence purchasing behaviors among Canadians. Excise taxes, for instance, are collected to generate revenue while supporting public policy goals like reducing smoking or promoting environmentally friendly products, as indicated by the Canadian legal resource, Criminal Code Help. However, the cumulative costs can be significant. Regarding gasoline prices in Canada, on October 23, 2023, the global average for gasoline was $1.83 per liter. Canadian prices closely mirrored this global average, standing at $1.76 per liter. To provide a comparative perspective, a liter of gasoline costs 4 cents in Iran, $1.38 in the US, and $2.59 in the UK, and $4.23 in Hong Kong, the most expensive location for gasoline. While it may be inaccurate to label gas as expensive in Canada, the prices Canadians pay are substantially influenced by taxes, one of the two primary drivers of domestic gas prices alongside subsidies. Examining alcohol prices in Canada, the costs of spirits, wines, beers, coolers, and cider are similarly inflated due to federal, provincial, and territorial taxes. Tax rates vary by province, territory, and alcohol type, with spirits facing the highest taxation. Studies have estimated that the total cost of excise and sales tax contributes to 20% to 30% of final retail prices. The grim reality is that this financial burden isn't just an inconvenience, it's a nightmare for Canadians. When the prices of commodities like gas and alcohol soar due to hefty taxes, the purchasing power of everyday Canadians takes a severe hit. It's not just about paying more at the pump or the liquor store, it's about the ripple effect on our wallets. With each increase in excise taxes, the average Canadian's ability to buy goods and services diminishes. Imagine the horror of realizing that your hard-earned money doesn't stretch as far as it used to. Simple pleasures like a weekend getaway or a family dinner become a financial struggle, with the shadow of rising costs looming over every purchase. But the horror doesn't stop there. As the cost of living in Canada continues to climb, it becomes a twisted incentive for some to pack up and seek refuge south of the border. The United States beckons with promises of better pay and a more affordable lifestyle. The nightmare scenario unfolds as talented individuals, enticed by the prospect of economic relief, contemplate leaving their homeland for the sake of financial survival. The exodus threatens the very fabric of Canadian society as skilled workers, young professionals, and families are lured away by the siren song of economic opportunity elsewhere. It's a haunting prospect as the country's potential is drained, leaving behind a landscape marked by a diminishing workforce and an atmosphere of economic desolation. In this financial horror show, the consequences are not just personal, but also societal. Canada risks losing its talent, innovation, and future as its citizens are pushed to make choices dictated by economic hardship. If you like this video and want to learn more about the Canadian economy, check out this video here. And if this video brought value to you, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing this video. Thanks for watching.